Welcome to the Non-Superheroes Gets Dads podcast. No, we can't fly. No, we can't shoot lasers or pick up giant buildings. But what we can do is help set the foundations for our families, be present for our kids, and come back generational cycles. On this podcast, we dive into everything dad-related, from the struggles we deal with as fathers to what our favorite thing to barbecue is. Hello, I'm Sean Laurie. I hope you guys are having an amazing, blessed day today. Before we start, before we jump into it, make sure you like, subscribe, share, tell a friend. You guys know I appreciate the feedback like always. I always make sure I tell you guys that just because it really does mean a lot to me. Now, with that being said, man, I'm excited to have this fellow Cali brother, and even though he's in NorCal, but me and him coach together. Man, he's a father, he's a mentor, he's a husband, he's played at the highest level, he has a pocket. Man, he has his hands in a lot of different things. Very, very talented, and I'm fortunate to know him, man. And that's Kyle. How you doing today, my guy?
I appreciate you, man. I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me on. Love the intro, and I appreciate the good words, my brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, but before we dive into it, I do like to try to do icebreakers. So, for you, I did mention that you play at the highest level, and so as kids, right, we all say, hey man, we want to go far with whatever it is. It could be sports, it could be music, it could be whatever the case is. When was that moment for you as a kid that you knew, like, hey, you know what, I think I can make some noise with this basketball stuff?
I would say my sophomore year in high school, and when it really solidified. Okay, I'm pretty good at this game. Had a decent freshman year. I came into high school, started my freshman year, had a very good freshman year. Sophomore year, I got my first scholarship offer to Cal Berkeley. Started getting a ton of letters. I actually got my first letter when I was a freshman, but I started getting a ton of letters when I was a sophomore, boxes full of it. I got my first offer to Cal Berkeley, and that's when I realized, okay, I'm pretty good at this game.
That's dope. That's dope, man. I love it, man. We talked beforehand, just kind of get an idea of, what to speak on, y'all. And we spoke on this before, in the past, but it's going to be a little bit different, guys, just because of, obviously we talk about being present and things like that, but I feel like, especially for you, Kyle, yours is a little more unique because of the fact that you did have so much going on. So I want to ask you, one, I guess to start off, just you being present as a father, right? But as a father, but also as an adult, like, what does that mean to you right now?
Man, that's a great question. Well, there's a lot that went down. Just to give you a little bit of a background, as we spoke about a little bit before, we went on air about the last 5 years. Me, overanalyzing and overthinking and dealing with imposter syndrome. In 2022, ball ended without warning due to injury, and lost myself. I was very uncertain about my identity of who I was. Fell into a depression. I was trying to figure it out. Was having a hard time utilizing what I learned from basketball into the real life. Through that process, I was continuing to chase the game, wanted to chase the game, but I was a little bit depressed about how my season ended, because I felt like I owed the game a lot more, that I still had a lot more in the tank as far as my ability to play the game. And so I went through a storm, not unlike everyone else in the world that has a rough patch or a rough season, but the tables turned as far as my role in my family, right? And so that whole COVID thing happened. We were trying to figure out new jobs. COVID was shut down everything, so I wasn't going back to play anyways. And so my wife ended up getting a job, and I was kind of a stay-at-home dad, still kind of a stay-at-home dad while I'm figuring out all of my projects and my business ventures. During that process, while I was going through it, I wasn't the best. I wasn't the most present dad. I wasn't the most happy-go-lucky dad. I wasn't the happiest person during a 3-year span, 2 to 3 year span. But luckily, God had shown me that through my season, the blessings that I was actually obtaining, the blessings that I actually had within the midst of all the storms. And that was being able to spend time with my kids. Even though I wasn't as present as I wanted to, I was able to build a relationship with them, to whereas maybe I wouldn't have been able to do so if I was still playing basketball, playing overseas, right? And so At this point, I've been able to reflect on my past and been able to understand what being a stay-at-home dad did for me. And it helped me realize how much my kids were a vehicle of learning for me, of just helping me reflect on myself and what it was like to be a kid and what it's like to be present, and understanding that, we're all kids, even though we're adults, right? And so being a father right now, to me, what was your original question? I'm
No, just
sorry.
yeah, being as far as being present as a father and as an adult.
I feel like being an adult, it just comes with being more responsible. But ultimately, I feel like we're all kids at heart, and I think that's the
Yeah.
most important fact for me, as far as being present and living vicariously through my kids. Because as we become adults, we forget about what it's like to be a kid. We go through life and we start, enduring all the distractions in life and all the bills and all the things that life throws at us, and we forget what it's like to live life as a kid. And so that's what it means for me now at this very moment. Is what are my kids actually going through? What are they actually feeling? I used to dismiss the way that my kids used to feel, because you're only dealing with kid stuff, right? And at the same time, it doesn't really matter why they're feeling what they're feeling. They're still feeling it, right? And so it doesn't negate the fact that they're not feeling whatever emotion that they're feeling, and it still needs to be addressed regardless of why they're feeling that. And so I understand that with kids and going into adulthood, all what we've learned and what we've experienced stems from our childhood. And so, and me being a father, I am doing better and being more focused on making sure that their emotions and their feelings are being understood, and addressing whatever it is that they're feeling at that moment, so they can feel heard, so they can feel understood and not feel like their emotions are being dismissed, because that's what creates that trauma, right? And that
Yeah.
will eventually translate into adulthood. And so that is actually my objective now, is making sure that they have all the love that they need, all the encouragement that they need, and just all the love and attention that they need, so they feel like they're being listened to, and eventually, translates into their adulthood.
I like that, man. So, and you said something that really stood out because you did say, just kind of reflect, right? And so I want to ask you, I guess it's a two-part question, but how often do you reflect, bro? Excuse me, on your own childhood, and then are there experiences from your childhood that you think about when you're raising your kids?
Absolutely. I'm not sure if you know this, but my dad is deaf. My mom was hard of hearing. R.I.P. to my mom, who passed away in 2021. Our household was very different. Not your typical household when you have speaking parents. That's not to say that every household that has deaf parents operates in this way, but the guidance is a little bit different. You have stories that are shared with you about how you were as a kid, and I feel like I missed a little bit of that with my parents. I didn't really get that, like, this is how you were and this is how you were, right? And so I used to get mad at my kids a lot for certain things, not being aware of, or forgetting about the fact that I was a kid once as well. And again, my kids have been probably the most influential to me as far as my growth and development as a person, because I am one that hates hypocrisy, right? And if I am getting on my kids about being a kid, how was I when I was a kid, and what were the things that I was doing as a kid for me to have that understanding, for me to have that understanding as a parent, and how I approach certain things for the things that they want and how they act and behave and all and etc. I'm not exactly sure what my temperament was, how I responded to things as a kid. The things that initially that I liked and that I didn't like, and whatever the case was, I try and use that as a catapult to make sure that I'm trying to figure out, try to make sure that I'm trying to put myself in their situation so I can better understand what they're going through and essentially, like I said, live through them vicariously and
Yeah.
to understand, what it's like to continue to be a kid because that's important.
Absolutely. And so, obviously, with the, like you said, the dynamic was a little bit different, right? So you didn't necessarily get those same stories. Hey, this is how you were, or this is what you did. So I wanted to ask you though. So in that situation, was there? Do you feel like you had to grow up a little bit faster, or do you feel like, because, right, like there might be certain things that you had to kind of help out with the family, right? So is it one of those things too? It might be almost a blur because you had to do certain things, and then with your kids or something, right? It's like, hey, why can't you do this? And it's like, wait, at that age I had no choice, I had to do this.
That's a very, very interesting question, a very interesting point. That's actually, a perspective that I didn't really think about it until you mentioned it. It's not something that I was just like, I had to grow up this quickly, so this is how you should be. Right. I feel like as adults, the things that we go through, we often forget what it's like, again, what it's like to be a kid, what it's like to make mistakes, what it's like to spill a drink on the floor and all this other stuff. Right. And we get caught up. And we're so wound up, and we get caught up in our everyday life that, again, that we miss that factor of, oh, it's okay to make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to fall, and we all make bad choices, and we all make certain choices that we wish we would have changed back then. And so I did have to grow up a little bit quicker, and so my mentality is a little bit different. And so I did have that thought process, is like, okay, well, you need to be thinking like this. And it's only from our experiences as children, that we would like to change for our kids. And that's how we often respond to our kids, and wanted them to be different than what we were when we were growing.
No, that's true. Now, growing up as well with, like, so your friends and things like that, people at school or whatever, did they understand your situation as well? Because you know how kids are, man. They want to crack jokes and stuff. Or was it something like, hey, it was all love? Because I'm thinking, at least for me, like, I think we talked about this before, right? I learned very quickly because of how I grew up, and just growing up in certain neighborhoods. You had to be able to, you had to be able to defend yourself either with words or with hands, right? And
Yeah,
so,
man.
like,
Go
when
ahead.
people trying to clown, I'm on their head. So, like, did you have to kind of deal with that? Because I'm thinking that's like, especially back then. Hey, your mama this, your mama that. Like, wait, So how was that, or was it? Did you not have to deal with that type of situation?
Nah, man, I got a little bit of that. It's both, I know I can't say what the percentage was, but it was
Yeah.
going back to having to grow up early, and not really, being out in the streets, right, and having to fend for myself, and just trying to figure it all out, by myself. It was definitely a lot of that, right? And I feel like that kind of led into my adulthood as well, at just feeling like, sometimes, like, feeling alone, just feeling like, man, I got to do all this, I got to figure all this out of myself. So it was all, I had the mentality of, like, man, if you don't want to help me, then forget you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and it was that type of situation. So that started early. Of out there being in the world and having to figure it out and fend for myself. So for sure, it definitely had impact on my
Yeah.
childhood.
No, I definitely can relate to that because, shoot, I felt like for my siblings, I felt like I was dad slash brother. so,
Yeah.
so I can definitely understand that. So can you, I guess, can you recall, man, maybe a time, like you say, you have a different perspective on things, or be able to really show more empathy with your kids and things like that. But can you recall a time maybe when you really saw something through your kids' point of view, right? And it completely changed your approach on it.
My kids now, they're at a point to where you can have very, very good conversations with them. And, I've realized, even my approach to certain things, is the way that they think. not making sure that I'm not, making sure that I'm being open minded to their thoughts. Because before now, I'm like, I used to be like, that's not the way to think. You know what I'm saying? You can't think like that. You can't do this. You got to do it this and that, this and that. And so our kids are so intelligent now, and kids are intelligent in general. And so there's a lot that I've learned from my kids just from being interactive with them. And so being present and actually listening to what they have to say, what they're feeling, and just having an observation on how they perceive the world, what questions they're asking, and just being engaged to how they're learning, what they're learning, and how they're feeling about things. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but really being present, bro. Like that's the word. I hate to be redundant, but really just making sure that I'm building a relationship with them. And obviously we got to be parents at the same time, but being emotionally available as well, I think is important. That's something that I've been noticing that I need to be better at.
No, I like that you said that too, because that's what I was gonna ask. Because, like, um, we're both believers, and as me as a believer, right, I always like to say too, or the cliche, I guess, is in the Bible says God uses all things for his good. And so obviously your career ended not the way that you wanted to, but it helped you grow as a person, right, which is a beautiful thing. It helped you build a stronger bond with your kids. And so I wanted to ask you, you could tell me how old your kids were when you came back, but how was that adjustment period? And what was the mindset at that time? Because like you say, you dealt with some depression, you dealt with, right? But you're home with your kids now, and your wife, right? You're home, but it's like, I'm a hooper, right? Like, this is what I do. Like, I'm a hooper. Like, yeah, I understand. Like, I love my kids, I love y'all, but I'm here, and in those moments, is it not present? And the reason why I asked too is because my baby girl at the time, it was one of those surprises, right? You get them surprised, oh shoot, right? At the
Yeah.
time, right? At the time, my mindset, because I have my oldest daughter, so at the time, I didn't want no other girls. I was like, no, you know what? I just want her, and it's because I was very conscious of the dynamic with me and my oldest. I never wanted her to feel some type of way, so I'm like, I want her to be just baby girl. I don't want two baby girls, right? And so I say that because I'll be honest, when she first was here, I wasn't, bro, you'll see the pictures, I'm looking like Junior, just, right? Like, I'm,
Yeah.
yeah, like, okay. And like, but now she's my world, and she's helped me with so much, right? And like, my oldest helped me tap in with certain things, but so did because like, she was so little. It forced me to really get emotionally intact with certain things, right? And so I say all that just to say, like, for me, I know, and I was there the whole time, but I know mentally I wasn't there, right? And so that's why I wanted to ask you, bro, as far as you coming back. Like I said, you playing at a high level. All of a sudden, I think you told me like your knee or whatever. You're like, shoot, wait, okay, it's over, like already. Like I didn't get to announce it. I didn't get to say, oh, okay, this is my last. Like it's just done. So going from that to now you're in husband father mode. You know what I mean? Just after maybe a month ago, you was just hooping. Like, so what was the mindset with that, bro? I know I just said a lot all in once, but
Nah,
what was it?
it's exactly what you said. And to be honest, man, if it wasn't for God, me being a believer, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. Glory to God, man. And it's crazy you say that, and I can almost get emotional about it because I wasn't present, bro. I needed that season, this past season that I've gone through, to really understand the blessings in disguise through that process. When I came home, man, I was, as far as the roles as being a husband, we're to be the providers, right? And so I was supposed to be, as a man, I'm supposed to be a provider, and because my identity was tied into basketball. So again, when basketball left, I felt unworthy, right? I felt like, well, as far as my confidence was gone, my status was gone. I realized that I used basketball as a mask, to cover up for maybe, not getting enough attention when I was a kid, maybe feeling like not getting, like I needed more love. And so I didn't feel, I was definitely not present. I definitely wasn't present. If I'm being honest, it's more recent to where I feel like my son's 11 and he's got a couple more years left, right? He's got a couple more years left until maybe he doesn't want daddy's love anymore, right? And so it's just been most recent to where I've started to realize, like, man, like I've wasted so much time being in my head when they were kids, that I need to switch gears now. I need to be more in tune with what's going on, because I was trying to figure myself out. I was trying to pull myself out of depression, trying to pull myself out of imposter syndrome, and these things just most recently, started to dissipate, as far as rebuilding confidence, and me understanding that everything that I've gone through was only to build me up for who I'm supposed to be now and forthcoming. So, man, no, I wasn't present, bro. And like I said, I wasn't the best at it. I felt like I could be in these past 3 to 4 years.
It's crazy because right now what gets stood out to me, and I'm sure guys is giving me this to say to you right now, but regardless, like you said, you have so many different things you're doing right now, and of course, we always want more. We always, no matter, it's never good enough, right? Like you can
Right.
be making 100,000, it's still not good enough. But it gets something that's standing out to me right now that I guess I'm supposed to say to you is, being present is providing, bro. Um, and so just understanding that and really
I received
accepting
that.
that,
I
right?
received that.
Like I said, I don't know where that came from, but that's just something right now that is just like, hey, you need to make sure you tell Kyle this. So be present is providing, bro. So you're where you're supposed to be, and just keep doing what you're doing, man. And again, I'm just thankful that you're here sharing some of this, because even if it's not basketball, y'all, some of y'all like, hey, I don't do basketball. Okay, it could be your job, right? You're so caught up in this is who you are. You've been this CEO, you've been this manager, you've been whatever the case is. That's okay if that's no longer you. That was only a part of you anyway. That didn't define
Exactly.
you, right?
Exactly.
Which is difficult to do. But I want to ask you too, man. Like how, like you said, like how does your wife handle that? Because right, like you said, it's one of those things where your wife's been there, she's been rocking with you, but you said something that was interesting when you said like, what was it? Basically, the attention, right? Like the attention, like people really paying attention. So how was you able to deal with that? Because it's like, hey, your wife's been rocking with you, but was it one of those things like, okay, is she still gonna rock with me because I've been gone and like doing this, but now I'm back, right? Like I'm back here, but like, am I the same person? Is she gonna love me the same way as my kids? Even though your kids is young, right? Again, we get in our head like they can't be like, oh man, my dad play here, my dad do this, right? Because so long that was your identity. Shoot, some of your so-called friends all of a sudden stop picking up the phone. I don't know if this is true. I'm just throwing this out there, but they stop picking up the phone. Hey, let's hang out. Oh, bro, I'm busy. But before, when you was in town, hey, Kyle over here. Hey, let's come through. So how were you able to handle that? I know I'm throwing different little
Nah,
jabs,
man.
man. But
No, those are great. They're great questions, man, because that was a part of the depression. That was the part of the identity crisis, right? And that was, basketball was what gave me confidence. That's where I say a mask, and this is, thought provoked right here. As far as that's where I got my attention from. Basketball, right? Now that I'm thinking about it, that's where I got my attention from, and that was like basketball was my place. That was my zone out. That was where I went to be me. And that's all I did. And like I said, it was a mask because I didn't realize who I was without basketball. And so when basketball ended, getting this attention, and it's not like I feel like I subconsciously absorbed that attention, because it wasn't like I was like, conceited and, or, I was a very humble dude. I was a very humble basketball player. But I felt like, again, that's what gave me the confidence to be who I was. And so when I didn't have the confidence, bro, when my wife got the job, especially with her being a bartender, I thought she was out looking for some other dudes, you know what I mean? Like, because I'm not that guy anymore. And so I felt super unworthy, man. No, she stuck with me, man, and even through the thick and thin, it was what really helped me realize what marriage was actually about. Side tangent. When people get married and they say their vows, for richer or poorer, through thick and thin, like in health, that season really showed me what marriage was all about. Because she endured a lot of, shout out to my wife, Amanda, especially most recently, while I'm still continuing to figure out my business and bringing this family back up to par, she has been enduring a lot, while I've been figuring myself out, man. And I wouldn't be here where I'm at and where I'm going if it wasn't for my wife, especially after today. Especially, I mean, from everything that she's been doing, everything that she's been trying to do, the work that she's been putting in, and then just be continuing to be, God is the glue, but she's definitely, secondary as far as, keeping this family together. While I rebuild and be where God wants me to be, man. So again, I give a lot of credit to my wife, for everything she's done for me and this family.
That's dope, man. No, shout out to her for sure, man. So, I want to ask you too, how do you make sure, because you went through that journey, of that kind of being your identity, how do you make sure that your son and your daughter it don't even have to be basketball. I know your son's playing basketball right now, but whatever. Let's say your daughter's into cheer, whatever the case is, right? Like, how do you make sure that they don't identify strictly as that?
That's a great question. Making sure that they're experimenting with other things, making sure that I'm expressing and exuding my love for God, and what God wants for me is what God wants for them, and that's just to be great at everything, right? We've talked about Tyson, as far as where he was with basketball, and where we wanted him to be, and basketball and anything, it doesn't matter what you're doing. I'm making sure that they are exuding everything that they're good at, that they're practicing everything that they're good at, because God, I like to refer to us. Have you seen that movie? Have you seen Transformers 1?
Yes.
So like the Matrix, right? The Matrix of leadership, that gives them the ability to transform, everything that we've gone, everything that everybody, all of God's people. I mean, even those that aren't God's people, right? We all have this ability to transform into anything that we want to be. And that's what I'm making sure that they understand, so they don't get locked in to, oh, basketball is only this. Now they need to understand that you can do everything, that you're doing this, and basketball doesn't make who you are. It's about what you're willing to be. It's about who you want to be, and understanding that you're capable of being anything that anything that your heart desires, right? And so, no, this isn't it. I make sure that, if it's not basketball, if it's not gymnastics, you just still have to work hard at whatever it is that you're doing. And whatever it is that you're doing, utilizing that as an opportunity to open up other doors for other opportunities. And so,
yeah. I like that, bro. Another thing right now, just that stood out to me, because I don't know why, but I guess it's standing out as far as, like you say, you was doing basketball. Growing up, that was the focus. That's who you was. And so another thing that I guess I'm supposed to share with you right now, bro, is just basketball, as great as it was for you and did a lot for you, and of course it was amazing, but basketball was a distraction, and it stopped you being able to do the work that you needed to do. And so now you're able to do that work. I don't know where this came from, but yeah,
good,
bro.
bro.
So now, because of that experience, you can make sure your daughter with gymnastics is something she does, but now it's not a distraction. Tyson does basketball, but it's not a distraction. It doesn't stop them from doing the work. It doesn't stop them from knowing who they are as God's child, as a smart, intelligent individual that has different gifts in different areas. That's just something they chose to do. That's just a lane they decided to choose. But at the end of the day, no matter what lane they decided, they was going to be excellent anyways because of their talents, because the work that they'll put in, not only because of them, but because of you and your wife, right? And so again, I just blacked out right now, bro. I don't even know all the stuff like you said. But yeah, so I just wanted to encourage you with that, bro, as well. I don't know what that
I
means
appreciate
anything
that.
to
No,
you, but yeah, man.
no, it means a lot, and just for everyone who's listening in, it's the principle, right? Everything that we go through, everything that we're utilizing, it's to serve God, man. And I'm still working on, serving God, and and serving the people that He wants me to serve. But it's principle. It's about what's the scripture, and you can help me out as well. As Corinthians, and it's whatever it is that you do it all with your heart.
Oh, yes, yes. I
Yeah, I
don't know
think
exactly,
yeah.
but yes.
I actually have it right here. Give me two
You have it
seconds.
okay.
I have it right.
Yeah, no worries, man. Might be to
In
help somebody else.
Colossians,
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 okay.
Colossians 3, verses 23 and 24. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as you're working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. So basketball, gymnastics, volleyball, graphic design, artistry, music, it doesn't matter what we're doing. It's just a fact that, making sure that you're doing everything that you can to be the best that you can at what you're doing, right? Because I'm a strong believer now, even more so than I was before. It's the energy that you put in is reciprocated, right? I've heard a lot about, treating a business like a business and treating it with your heart, and it will give you, you will receive how you treat it, right? If whatever you're doing, and if you're doing 50% and you're not giving it your all spiritually, that's what you're going to get back, right? And with everything that I'm doing, I'm in the midst of, building my financial business in the student of the game, as you know. So it's a big project. But in the beginning, I started this process, about a year and a half ago of being a financial professional. But I was still trying to figure out everything else. As a basketball player, I still had a strong, my identity, I still had a strong part of, my identity in basketball, and needing to leverage my expertise in basketball. So life insurance and, the finance world, I wasn't ready to dive into it like I'm diving into it now. And like you said, it's reciprocated. It's reciprocated energy. What you give into it is what you're going to get back. And so everything that you're doing, if you're not 2 feet in, then you're not going to get the results that you want, right? And spiritually, I believe that God blesses whatever that you're doing when you're putting 100% into everything that you're doing.
No, I agree, man. I got like two more questions for you. So the second and last one is what distractions, bro, have you noticed pull adults away from, because like you said, like childlike and being present and curiosity, but what distractions do you notice pull adults away from like the childlike curiosity or presence that we once had?
The enemy. Unfortunately, the enemy is after God's children, and it starts when we're children, right? A belief system. It's our belief system, bro. It's the doubt. It's the low self-esteem. It's the lack of confidence. It's the lack of understanding who God is, understanding what God's word is, understanding, His promise for all of us. We come onto this earth, to have a relationship with God and to be everything that we can be with the gifts that He has blessed us with. And so the enemy has tricked a lot of us and to believing we're not something when we are, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's a continuous cycle with everything that's going on, jealousy and just everything that we're exposed to, the lies that we're being told, the people that we listen to. And so, what we go through in life, man, having a relationship with God is the way to understand who we're supposed to be and who we're meant to be. And I think that's the biggest distraction of all is what we actually believe in, and what we believe in about ourselves, what we believe in about other people, what we believe in, what we're capable of or what we're not capable of. The mindset of scarcity and lack and all of that. And I feel like that's probably the biggest hindrance for all of us, is being is understanding or believing that we were meant to go to school to get a 9 to 5, and that's not the case by any means. Man, we're supposed to be figuring out what we love to do, mastering that love, and then teaching other people how to do it. And I mean, it sounds simple, and it is simple, but yet our programming, the way that we've been exposed to different, stimulus and information, has corrupted our path as far as where we're supposed to be going and who we're supposed to be. So it's what we actually believe in, and what we believe in about ourselves, and believing that we're, like I said, either capable of doing it or not capable of doing it. Because whatever we believe in actually, manifests into our reality. So that's ultimately the holdback, is the belief.
It's funny you said that, because that sets up for my last question. um, my question to you, bro, is what is it that you believed when you were younger, your younger version of you, and what do you believe about yourself now, and how do you carry that out for your family?
I think it's more so understanding what more of the truth is, and this is a continuous, process, right, of getting closer to God and understanding the truth. If I'd known this while I was playing, I'd be in a very different place now, as far as my basketball career went. In hindsight, being where I'm at, I can't be mad about where my career went because of the mindset that I had prior. And so I played a lot of the victim, right? And if I'm being honest, if it's really about finding out what you want to do, just doing it, and understanding that when you submit your plans to the Lord, that is going to come true. And I've even with evidence prior of God blessing my prayers, and I honestly believe that all of my dreams come true. There is still always that little seed of doubt that was planted in my head, and that's what the enemy does, that prevented me from actually going out and doing what I know that I'm capable of doing. But like I said before, battled a lot of imposter syndrome, and now that I understand that it's not about people liking my stuff. It's not about, like, oh, well, who's going to listen? It's about reaching that one person that needs to hear whatever it is that they need to hear, or whatever it is that God wants to hear or wants them to hear. And so I strongly believe that success is inevitable.
Yeah.
As long as you're putting in the work. I mean, you're just putting in the work and trying to become that person, submitting the plans to God. I believe that I believe in the impossible. I believe that all is able to be accomplished through God, through, I call it pinata theory. Bro. And what the pinata theory states is that your dreams are inside of this pinata. And it's just a matter of how many reps and swings that you take before it actually comes to, before you crack open the pinata, and then your dreams are revealed. And obviously, with life's tests and all the obstacles, we're deterred from that, from swinging at that pinata. But I believe it's that simple, but it's that hard because of our belief system. So everything is possible, bro. That's what I believe, and it's just a matter of believing that if you put in the reps and understand that mistakes and failure, that success is in the mistakes and success is in the failures. And that's probably, to go back to your other question, that's probably the biggest thing in what's holding people back is the fear of failure, the fear of making mistakes, understanding that the mistakes and the failure is what gets you to where you're trying to get to. Action breeds traction, and movement creates momentum. And between those two things, you just have no choice but to win.
Yeah, I love it, man. That's dope, bro. So, but before we wrap this up too, man, let people know, because you did mention a little bit that they probably didn't realize you mentioned the podcast and stuff like that too. But Where can they find you and support what you got going on, bro?
My personal Instagram is Kyle's Quest, and that's being developed. Everything is under construction right now. I've got my Thought Provoked podcast, and but more so, I've been more focused on my student of the game, and that's although it's a basketball focus, it's geared to becoming a student of life, because that's what a student of game is. We talked about basketball and it just being a platform, and it doesn't matter what you're doing or what you're going through. Everything is just a platform to catapult or to open opportunities for other stuff that God will have for you in the future. So, student of the game, tap in with that. It's a basketball channel, but it's also a life channel. It's a mindset. It's about mindset and growing and developing and becoming who you're supposed to be.
Love it, man. And like always, guys, I'm gonna put in the YouTube. I'm gonna put it on the Spotify, all that too. So if you guys wasn't able to catch all that, you should be able to just click the link. Make sure you give him a follow, a like, all that good stuff. And like always, I like to give the flowers, man. So one, just appreciate your time, bro. I know you could be doing a million other things. So the fact that you could set this time aside, I don't take it for granted. And man, I'm just proud of the growth that you made, man. I wasn't there during those steps, but just hearing your story is amazing, and you're doing the work. And I know your family's gonna be stronger because of it. I know the bond with your kids is gonna be stronger because of it. Your marriage is gonna be stronger because of it, right? So I'm just believing in so many blessings and what you got going on, man. And just continue to do it the right way. There's gonna be people that's gonna look at you and feel some type of way, maybe jealous, maybe hate, and that's okay. Look at it like that means you're on the right path and you're where you're supposed to be, because if they're upset about it, they must see you as a threat. So that's a beautiful thing. So yeah, I just wanted to tell you that, man, and again, appreciate your time, bro.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that, man. And just the one last thing for the listeners, you said that you were proud of my development, and I think the most important thing is to be proud of yourself, right? And what I mean by that is we often go through our lives, and God will bless any situation that we're in, and then subconsciously, the way that we view life, we're just on to the next worry, right? And we forget to count our blessings. We forget to count our wins. We forget to realize all of the things that we've been able to accomplish, especially if we're still alive, right? All of the things that God has gotten us through, all of the storms, the hardships, the fires. If you got through it, that is a win. And you have to be proud of that and utilize that. When you woke up this morning, that's a win. So we need to start counting our wins versus counting all the things that happen to us, man, and see what outweighs what, right? And at that point, we can really have that perspective and awareness of we're actually doing better than we think that we are.
I love it, bro. No, that's true, man. I hope y'all writing notes on all these gems, man. But yeah, y'all, like always, right? You don't have to be perfect, but you always have to be present. I'll see you guys on the next